pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes? We have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, minutes are accepted. Our guest today is Jamie Brown, and she's going to be talking with us tonight about some of the locations that we may want to think about. We can talk about the public ones first that we own, and then when we talk about private property that we would speculate on, we'll go into executive session on that.
Sure.
Sounds like we just missed an opportunity to get a piece of property in DC, but pretty big commute.
Yeah, it's not as big as you guys would want. Well, thank you very much for having me, first of all. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about my 2 cents on this matter, and of course, also very much appreciate all the hard work that you've been doing. I had a chance to talk with Mr. Pifko ahead of time a little bit just to get a sense of the range of square footage you guys are honing in on and the types of layout that you've kind of liked when you've been out touring. And the other thing we talked about was the survey coming up, which I think is a fabulous idea, the Survey Monkey, to try to kind of cast a wide net of opinion about what exactly the space will function like. So it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of good, hard work. I would imagine, because the universe of publicly owned land is so small in Trumbull, that you have probably already discussed many, if not all, of the properties that come to my mind. One is the Long Hill Administration Building on Main Street, which I think is existing about 30,000 square feet and with room to expand, but only if the softball field were relocated. And I do understand that it's, you know, a pretty heavily programmed field. I think all of our fields are. That goes kind of without saying. But, you know, the benefits are central location, on a bus line, you know, existing facility to be rehabbed, etc. You know, the 2 other schools in that area are Middlebrooks, which has extra land in the back. The topography of that land is somewhat challenging, although it's like not undevelopable. And in my opinion, there's enough land there that you could add a modestly sized building with associated parking without compromising a wooded buffer between that and the neighbors. I mean, I haven't looked at it in detail, but just in sketch form. And in my experience, buffer is very, very key whenever adding, you know, development in an existing residential community.
How much land is there? You know, behind the work.
Wish we had, maybe those boards are over there.
You could have that information in our
Well,
facilities
it's just an approximate.
Yeah.
It's not as big as the Long Hill, though, piece of property, is
Oh, I
it?
don't think it is.
Oh, it's much bigger.
The Long Hill. I know it's a good piece back there.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's more than 30,000, I think?
I do.
Square feet, okay.
Halfway up Churchill.
Oh, Middlebrook. Okay. Sorry.
Where do you have
I thought that was part of our,
I think it's on these boards here.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I'm sorry, Jim.
That's
42 acres.
Yeah.
42
Middlebrook
acres.
has 40 acres?
Yeah, behind there.
Behind the school?
Doesn't it go to the town,
That would like reach to Bridgeport.
the recycling center down there?
Yeah, it does. It goes all the way down. So it goes very far back
Yeah.
as well. I don't know that back the street that it backs up to.
Right.
There
There's 3 boards at one time.
to the east, to the south.
Good thing I wore my Vanna White outfit. All right.
And the only access to it is through Middlebrook
There
at
it
this
is.
point?
Yeah.
40 acres, I don't
So the whole
Design
piece,
Walmart.
here's existing Middlebrook.
Yeah.
This is the yard. What you don't see in this view is basically a shelf, like a very big drop from here to here. But in this.
Is that where EMS is, for the shelters?
EMS is right there, the animal shelter's there.
Oh,
Town garage is.
Okay.
Town garage is here.
Okay, right there.
So there's quite a bunch of excess land in the back here.
And what's that like?
You know, as you move this way, the topo gets more challenging, and it is wooded. But in some ways, that's a nice thing, right? Because you could save some of the existing trees, you could work with the topography, maybe do one story on the front and a walkout basement on the back, create, you know, a walking type campus between the school. Maybe there are some opportunities to use excess space in the school. I don't know. I haven't toured the school. So, you know, the good news is it's centrally located and there's a bunch of land, so it gives you a lot of opportunity there.
Are there a lot of houses around?
Yeah, I mean, they're shown here. It's a half-acre neighborhood, and some of the lots are much smaller than that, actually. And I would say the other big downside is, ideally, you want access from the main road. And with the existing building, there's really no way to punch in a road here or continue this driveway. There's actually a little field right here. So you'd really be adding a significant amount of volume to Middlebrooks itself, which, you know, is a residential community. I mean, I think that's going to be a recurring theme. If you put a community center anywhere, the whole point is to draw people to it. So, but Middlebrooks, although a bit of a cut-through street now, is certainly not at all like Churchill Road.
But you can have access from, that's Middlebrooks, that big bend, right?
Yeah.
You could, forget this because the topo is unmanageable, but you could kind of come in here
How
and
about
then
further?
continue.
Right
by
in
the
the big
corner
bend,
over
the
there.
big bend.
The bend
To your
is-
left.
Keep going,
Right there.
Yes, yes, this is where the road would want to be,
Right.
is right in here.
So you could,
Keep doing God's work.
Has the town ever tried to build something there? And if they have they gotten any comments from the people who live in the area?
I would have to ask someone who's been with the town much longer than I to answer that question, but not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I've been here, I don't recall anybody ever talking about building anything.
I didn't know, I didn't know it was there.
I knew it was there.
Yeah, I thought the land was there.
Just up the street from the cemetery, right?
Yeah.
Right, right next, yeah.
So just for the sake of being consistent, here is Long Hill Administration Building with your 5.5 acres and the existing parking. I haven't done the numerical analysis, but my gut tells me that that parking would not be sufficient for community center use.
What is a miracle analysis? What is that?
Numerical
Oh,
analysis,
numerical,
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought you said miracle, okay.
The miracle analysis,
yeah.
that sounds
Sometimes
really
it is.
fancy.
That's what's moving, yeah.
So, I think it's worth holding out the idea that in order to really use all of this and have this be an active center, that you might have to relocate that field. But again, the main advantages on this one is kind of existing scale of development, so you're not up, you know, there's not a lot of upheaval to the neighborhood, and it's on Main Street.
Bus
Now,
line.
hang on, Jamie, with that up there. Can you tell us what the Board of Ed uses in that building now? Because I know there's that wing right underneath that lettering there, where it says 19. So the building's roughly 20,000 square feet?
Roughly 20,000 square feet. I said 30,000 earlier.
Okay.
That was incorrect. So
Okay.
this is
So it's
just under
20,000
20,000
square
square feet.
feet. That wing off to the right here. No,
This.
but yeah, that one. Is that looks like classrooms from the road. Is that what it was?
They were,
Were,
one time, yeah,
okay. Is the Board of Ed using the whole building?
I believe so.
Isn't there there's a center to that
Maintenance
wing,
operates out
isn't
of
there,
the
that I
two,
think
right?
was the gym? So I think it's like one, is it a large space right in the center of that wing? I remember walking through a very large room to get from one side of the building to the other. We actually crossed it.
I
So
don't
we
know
don't
the
know.
interior of the building that well.
As you walk in the front, there's the big room they use for the Board of Education.
Right,
That
it's like a
was
hearing room.
Yeah, that might have been a gym at one point,
Mhm.
or a cafeteria. It's an old building, we looked at the Fairfield one, and, Fairfield dwarfs this. When you
Oh,
look at
really?
it, yeah, seems to.
I think I did.
The bigger
How many,
building.
how many square feet, the current senior center is?
I'm just gonna get all these fun boards.
Well, we must know this, it's gotta be in one of these,
We
notes
must have said
somewhere.
this at one point.
Okay, here's your existing facility.
So it is
Look at how tiny that is,
20,000 square
1.63
feet on
acres.
1.63.
Yeah.
So you've already got 20,000 on the other lot at 5.5, plus 5.5 acres.
Okay, so it's the same size building,
30,000 square
Same size
feet.
building, yeah.
If you take-
but I think it's a different layout. in
Oh,
that-
very different,
Yeah.
very different, yeah.
Now, when they're saying 20,000 square feet on that one, they're including all the floors,
3 floors for
two and a half
Two
floors.
floors,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the footprint of Long Hill is much bigger,
Mhm,
Than
mhm,
this.
mhm,
so
mhm.
you
Yeah, it's probably like 10 and 10 at Priscilla Place.
can, yeah.
Just to give you kind of a sense of scale. I mean, we briefly talked about Indian Ledge Park, but I rule it out because of accessibility.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just so out of the way.
As far as the,
It's got a lot of land, but it's out of the way, and they don't call it Indian Ledge for nothing because there's so much ledge up there. It's
A lot of blasting, huh?
very hard to.
The Indians
No.
need the solar.
What do we have here?
Quarry Road.
Oh, we were
Road.
talking about Quarry Road because,
Isn't that Bridgeport?
That's about as far
It's
out of
not.
town as we are now.
That's like literally
I have to get oriented
on the
here.
property
Oh, it
line.
is Bridgeport, right? It's right.
Yeah, it is.
This
Like
is Route
right.
25, this is Quarry Road.
So much for Central.
This is the back,
Is that 25, the big one? If you can give us 25, that would
this
help.
is,
That's 25.
yeah, I'm disoriented here myself, hang on. Where's north? Does it have an, okay, here's north,
Oh, here's White Plains Road.
here's north.
Okay, so this is White Plains Road.
Okay.
This is,
Quarry?
no,
Quarry
this is
here.
25.
Okay.
This is Old Town Road.
This is Old.
Quarry. Is that
Okay,
the
this is
movie?
825, and this is Old Town Road. So
Yeah.
you would come around the corner, and
Right.
Burbridge Avenue is over there.
Right.
Okay, and you come up the exit ramp
And I
off of Route 8.
think, I mean, I won't dwell on it because I can tell it doesn't light your fire, but I think this came up in conversation because there's space at the back of Unity Park that's kind of
Oh,
undeveloped,
Right.
that also has access to the trail, things like that. So another good reason to have these all in mind in your mental portfolio is some of your more preferred options may mean relocating other things. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
maybe this isn't your community center, but maybe if you need to relocate something else,
What
it's
are
good to
those
know that
buildings
there's
in the
access.
middle of there, Jamie? Is that the theater?
Oh, you know what I think these are? Oh, I know what these are. Oh. This is the land we picked up from state of Connecticut that has the
From
Bridgeport
Bridgeport,
Parks
that's
buildings on
The-
it. But
land
that
trade.
we will
Okay.
someday soon have control of.
Some
I
kind of
believe.
thing.
So
Yeah,
where-
so that's why that was on.
Okay, so Unity Park would be up north,
Yeah,
alright.
yeah.
So you could get in through it, to that area, that
Mhm.
30.4 acres through
Mhm.
Unity Park?
I think so.
You'd have to break through.
You'd have to
yeah,
break through.
Yeah, but there could be.
But just to
yeah.
kind of know what's in the public
Land.
portfolio, I don't think there's any
On the
firm.
Not central though, is
Plan
it?
It's not
for that.
central, no.
Okay.
That's closer to the current center than it is the Trumbull Center.
Mhm.
Do a nice job there, Vanna.
Thank you.
Yeah, everybody involved, right?
Do we have a picture of
Reservoir
Unity Park?
Avenue, I think that was some different project. Again, just for more to the universe of town-owned land, this is the Mary Bill property, which, is quite large. It's 54.8 acres. This is Huntington Turnpike, where it comes into Route 108, so that's City Line Florist right there.
All right.
And you know where the two roads kind of
Yeah.
Y?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You follow that Y down, and there's 54 acres in there.
It's not too far from the current one.
No, it's not.
It's not,
Down
and it's
the
not
road.
too far from
Couple blocks
highways
away,
and everything
yeah.
like that. I guess technically Huntington Turnpike is still a state route, although there's no bus service in that area, public bus service.
That's really the end of town.
But there's
That's
quite
Stratford, I think.
a lot of
We got
land.
Bridgeport on one side, we got
Yeah.
Stratford.
Mhm.
There's so much property, but
I didn't know there was so much land empty in town.
Yeah.
Open space.
Yeah, wow.
Now, what was that last one called, Jamie?
We call that the
Bill.
Mary Bill property.
Mary Bill?
Yeah, she's the
Bill,
woman who left the
B-I-L-L.
land to the town.
Oh, good for her.
Well, that-
This one has a great kind of title, Spring Hill Recreation Area, AKA the dump.
Oh, it's by the dump.
But,
Spring Hill
Way station.
yeah, I'm not gonna spend much time on that. You do not wanna be building on top of a, landfill. No, okay.
Get all the free methane.
How much land do we own there, just to have that? What was it ever?
27 acres. Okay, this is Tashua Knolls, 18.1. So the concept that, again, conceptually intrigues me. If you step away from any particular piece of land, but I think there's something exciting about the concept of creating an amenities campus if there is an opportunity to do so. Meaning, does the senior center, does the community center co-locate with another use, thereby increasing the overall energy or opportunities within walking distance? So the thought here was, again, you might have to relocate a field or a tennis court or something like that, but what if these tennis courts became a community center and that there was a co-location opportunity where the current golf course is. It's very scenic.
What are you gonna do with the golf course?
Nothing.
You gonna leave the golf course
Oh,
there?
sure.
So
Those
you
are very hard to
Talk
do.
to the, are the tennis courts as used as they used to be?
I
The
would have to
basketball
ask the
courts?
parks for that
I
information.
was wondering, because I used to go by there and it was always filled, I didn't see too many people there ever.
Yeah, I don't know the answer
You
to
always
that
pay
question.
$9 for full and
That's right, the pool is still there, right?
Yeah, the pool I know is very active. So that's an interesting thought. I mean, that's just this piece right there is 18 acres.
Okay,
You know.
yeah, okay, just
The
that.
tennis courts and the basketball, is that what we're talking about
Yep,
there?
this is all parking, this is the banquet facility, here's the pool. So you'd certainly have to move something, but, tennis courts aren't that hard to move. It's a beautiful area, of course.
But it's at the far
So
end.
if we build
Yeah.
a building around it, it could be a.
It's not
pickleball
central, and
court.
it's
No, it's not central.
Central Road
It's
and
covered.
Madison Avenue.
Okay, this is the Wagner Tree Farm, aka Trumbull Nature and Art Center for now. That's 11.4 acres. I think that number is deceiving in this case because you can't use any of that. So you're probably losing.
Good third.
Yeah, I would say 5 acres because of the pond and the associated buffer area for the pond. And then it's also a somewhat inefficient piece of land because of this triangle shape at the back. So, this is your sweet spot here and here. But again, when you take into account that your existing facility is on 1 acre, you can certainly find a way to make it work on 11. And again, I don't know, I think it's a little too early to know the library's plans. They're doing a master planning process right now, whether they will be seeking a different location altogether or seeking to rehab their existing facility. But I think they should have some direction and conclusions in the next couple months.
Next
And-
couple of weeks,
Oh, okay, even better.
by the middle of September, I think.
Oh,
we should have
fantastic,
everything.
fantastic. They've been doing great public outreach. So anyway, if there's interest in this property, I see this as another that has great potential for some sort of campus energy. And I think that's overall a good thing from a planning perspective. When you have more than one reason to go to a place, it's kind of, the sum is greater than the parts in that case. And you can really do a lot more to create a sense of place and a sense of community and a gathering spot, which in my opinion is something that Trumbull really needs to actively work on, because, you know, we don't have a traditional downtown. So if we can use this as an opportunity to lay the seeds for some sort of campus or gathering spot, I think that's a good way to go. Public bus service here too, which is great. And for what it's worth, I sense that I will not necessarily sway the opinion of the group on this, because I know that some people are really focused on that this has to be in the geographic center of town. But from a development perspective, there just is overwhelming energy towards the north end of town. And I would not be surprised if you see upzoning happening in that area over the next 5 years. Pretty significant development happening in that area, because it's where the land is, it's where the traffic is, and it's where the high dollars are that retail in particular wants to follow, and also medical office. So to the extent that you want your community center to be proximate to other amenities that people will want for their daily needs, whether that's doctors or retail or things like that, you may not feel it today, but my sense is that there will be an increasing array of development amenities towards that north side of town. And I think that's it for public.
How about the Wilmot area? I don't know what it's called. Island Brook, is it?
Island Brook Park.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of land there.
there is. I'm glad you brought that up. We
have
looked at it, but the land that is not developed is so hilly. I mean, it's just the topography is unbelievable in there,
Really?
and it's full of wetlands. So
Well, I know there's wetlands to the right, because there's
yeah.
a pond that grazes over. But to the left, there's big fields in the middle.
Well, if you wanted to move the fields,
Oh, yeah,
sure.
it would be.
But that's
yeah,
the
before you start.
so I would simplify
Not
by
that
saying this. The part of Island Brook that is developable is the part that's already developed. So if you
Right.
wanted to switch out the use there, I think it's doable. But you could not, like as I was suggesting at Middlebrooks, just use the raw land. That's not an option at Island Brook. Yeah. And, you know, accessibility there is real tough because you've got no connection to Main Street unless you bought up some property. So I think that'd be a pretty heavy impact on Wilmot. Yeah, we're talking about this area right there. So everything over here, I've looked at it pretty carefully. That, in my opinion, is not developable or worth the cost of development. In here where the fields are, you certainly could do, but in that case,
You'd have to remove.
I would strongly encourage finding a way to directly connect to Main Street. You know, for the community center that side. We briefly looked at Tashua, but basically everything underneath my hand is a floodway, and then everything beyond that is removed. You know, so it's not good for accessibility.
Well, there's also, I know Wilmot Avenue
Mm-hmm.
is there, and that's not an ideal way of getting in. However, the firehouse, this new firehouse is going up on the corner,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also taking the property next door, right? The
Yes,
house,
I think two houses next.
two houses.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you wanted access to that, all you would need is a driveway of one more house. So if you took
Mhm.
one house
Mm-hmm.
and connected it,
Mm-hmm.
and in a way, you know, and this is just hypothetically speaking here, no one wants to live next to a firehouse.
Yeah.
You know, so by taking one house, one property, and making that a large driveway entrance, you've alleviated that problem of having a house next to a firehouse,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a main entrance right off of Main Street. You
Mhm.
alleviate Wilmot Avenue as a problem as far as an entrance and egress.
Yeah.
You put a light there, because you're on Main Street anyhow at a firehouse, it's gonna need a light anyhow.
Yeah.
And I think there's at least 3 fields in there, maybe
Yeah,
not that many.
There's at least two or
Tennis
three.
courts and 2
Two or three,
fields.
Well, my kids used to use it,
Yeah.
and I remember it was very, I don't know how, again, I don't know how these things are used anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the fields are pretty active, but in terms of
Yeah, it's always
field
a problem with
relocation,
fields,
Yeah.
you know, I'd leave that to the Parks Department to opine, whether it's feasible, you know, but, certainly there's a lot of acreage at the Mary Bill property. We didn't have before. And I have no idea what it costs to move a field, but, you know, the Parks Department could opine on that. Is there any other public ones that you guys wanted to talk about, schools or parks or anything else? Those are the ones that I identified.
I wasn't even aware of Quarry Road or the other one on Huntington Turnpike.
That's 6 of them, that's pretty good, that we've identified as the House of the Horses. Some are reaches, but always possible. In your opinion, which is the best one?
Well, I'm biased because I don't really subscribe to the central location must-have. So I like the Wagner Tree Farm property a lot because it gives you accessibility and flexibility, you know. I'm biased because in my line of work, we always have a big project on not enough land, and I have to manage the friction that happens when those two forces combine. So I like the idea of having more land than you need. So that I like that site, but I know a lot of people just would feel that that's far too north. So I think the land at Middlebrooks has good fundamentals for some of the same reasons. You know, it's big enough to be, you're not boxed in to just doing one thing. My only concern is access. That doesn't overly impact the neighborhood, but at least you have the road itself as a buffer, as opposed to Long Hill Administration Building where you literally are in people's backyards. Now they're used to a ball field, but you know, change is hard, and I have witnessed time and again, some people have it in their mind, oh well, changing from X to Y isn't that